And let's bring up next storyteller, Emily.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Briefly, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to these stories that have always been important. Thank you for supporting Nestor, Trata, and thank you for investing in the performing arts. My name is Emily Pabon, and tonight I will be sharing a story with you about nostalgia. As a teenager, I suffered from what my older sister called sensory challenges. I would describe it as extreme physical discomfort from random stimuli, and my dad would call it me being a brat. That's your shout out, Dad. Smell was what I seemed to be the most sensitive to, and there was no rhyme or reason to the places that triggered this feeling. A few spots I struggled to go included the local bagel shop where my family ate every Sunday after church. There, I would wait in the car, staring out the sunroof or people watching until they were finished. Another one was the Noodles and Company on Burlington Ave in the southwest suburb of LaGrange. And the most tragic and triggering place of all, my grandparents' house. My family and I went to my grandparents' house every Saturday to celebrate, spend time, but mostly it was to eat. My family arrived in the States on July 4th of 1969 on Delta flight number 211 at 5 p.m. and brought with them all of the delicious Colombian dishes and traditions. So every Saturday, without fail, my grandparents prepared a traditional Colombian breakfast for us. By hand and with love, they fluently shaped the arepa dough. They chopped the green onions, garlic, and tomatoes for huevos pericos. They boiled the milk and melted the Corona chocolate. They diced the cheese to drop into the hot chocolate. They toasted the bread, made the fresh fruit juice, burned the oil, fried the egg, and always, always without fail, set off the smoke alarm. My grandparents' house was the place where I could freely enjoy and explore my culture, and I was expected to do so too. I was expected to eat everything I was served, no matter the amount. If I left one crumb, I'd hear my offended grandmother object, "No comiste nada?" I was expected to be attentive while my grandpa filled us in on the latest foreign affairs, perfectly reciting everything he had heard on Noticias Caracol that morning. Mostly, I was encouraged to speak Spanish. Despite mi vergüenza, my grandpa would always push me, mijita, en español. And we would spend hours catching up on the lives of our family members still in Colombia. And while the adults discussed who was sick, who got married, who found a job, who got their visas, my siblings and I would follow my grandma's orders and put on socks to not catch a cold and venture to the basement where we would look at old photographs of us, of my father at our age in Colombia. We would play with my grandparents' record player, daring each other to scratch the discs while listening to the likes of Rodolfo Icardi, the greatest hits of Disco Fuentes, and Navidad ballads, no matter the time of year. Now, from the outside, you would see a teenage girl doing the impossible, willingly enjoying a Saturday spent with family. But internally, I was panicking. Besides a full heart and full belly, I was painfully aware of what I was leaving my grandparents' house with. The savory scents I had just enjoyed for the last few hours now stuck to my hair like stamps, clinging to me like the physical evidence of where I'd just been. It's everywhere, I had convinced myself, and it's never leaving. It's ingrained in my skin and somehow now part of every cell in my body, every hair on my head, every thread in my clothing, and I can feel it affixing. See, leaving my grandparents' house felt like leaving the safe zone, one of the few places I could be Colombian and feel Colombian. When I returned home, I would immediately scrub my hair, strip my clothes, place them in a separate pile where they wouldn't even touch the other items I would wear out with friends or to school. And although the strength of these scents made me itch, I'd be lying if I said a large part of my discomfort wasn't the threat to the camouflage I had worked so hard to develop. I grew up in a white suburban neighborhood with a father from Bogota and a mother from a farm town in Iowa with a population of less than 2,000. Finding the center of gravity between Midwestern culture and Colombian culture was a task I never felt qualified for, and certainly couldn't imagine doing as well as my parents had, and still do. And there were plenty of early reinforcements to the camouflaging I had already begun, like the comments made in the 3rd grade by Connor, who loved to talk about my dark body hair with the class, or the friend who winced and asked, "What are you guys doing?" staring sideways when I showed her a home video of my family and I dancing at my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary in Colombia, live band, masks, costumes, flags, todo. Or the one that seemed to have stuck with me most, "What's that smell in your hair?" One Saturday after visiting my grandparents when my friend Brittany was trying out her new hair straightener on me. My response to it all? Assimilate harder. Shave my arm hair, keep my Colombian clothes separate, refuse to speak Spanish, keep quiet about trips abroad, prohibit friends from knowing my extended family, cover my hair in saran wrap when visiting my grandparents. I didn't, but I did think about it. This silent struggle lasted through young adulthood, growing in layers and legitimacy until one day, this decoratively derived design began to work too well. Until I had the realization that the mask I had constructed made it impossible for people to meet me. So layer by layer, starting with the oldest, most embedded one first, I began to discard the disguise. And as I got older and tried to be wiser and grow somewhat out of my sensory challenges, my grandma got older and a bit weaker and a bit slower, a bit less fluent in the kitchen and a bit more confused until one day, driving home from the grocery store, acquiring our Saturday breakfast ingredients, she was involved in a single car accident that nearly took her life. How quickly are we reminded of our mortality, and how quickly are our qualms put into perspective? Savory Saturday smells were replaced by stale and sterile hospital air, and I pleaded for the months she remained in the hospital, "God, give her another chance, give me another chance." By his grace, she healed, but it became obvious that she needed to return to the place where her heart never left. She and my grandfather moved back home to Colombia, and no Saturday morning has been the same since. I'm not able to describe the size of the hole they left. I only know that I feel the depth of their absence every day, and that I count the seconds I lost to shame. Now, the absorption of these memory-soaked smells is not something I hide from, but something I run toward. They are smells I stop on the street to follow, smells I seek, emulate, and savor. They are smells I do my best to replicate in my own tiny kitchen for those I love most, just as my grandma taught me. They remind me of Colombia, the country that I love, the country I'm a proud citizen of, one I have made feel like a second home, and one that now holds the people I cherish most. They remind me of Saturday mornings, childhood, a full belly, and unnecessary masks. They remind me of me. Thank you.